Welcome back, y'all. So, stated in the previous video, this video is going to be about cleaning the injectors. In order to do that, I'm going to be pulling the upper intake off. So, we've got to get the intake tube out of the way, get the IAC, the throttle position sensor disconnected, get the EGR disconnected, and I'm actually going to pull the intake up and with the throttle body. It's still attached, so I got to also disconnect the throttle body cable. It's just simpler that way to me. So first thing I'm going to be doing is going ahead and disconnecting the battery, and once I do that, I'll get the intake tube off. Hang on. Okay, battery is disconnected. Intake tube's off. Get the throttle position sensor. Just disconnected the IAC. All right, disconnect this. Sorry, disconnect the PCV line. Disconnect the throttle cable. Okay, I'm actually going to need to go ahead and disconnect the throttle cable bracket out of the way. Get the GR vacuum disconnected and the fuel pressure regulator disconnected. Get these out the way. Find a way to get those vacuum lines out of the way. Okay. If I remember right, those halves, I think they're two different sizes. As soon as I get that out the way, I can pull the throttle cable completely out the way. I think that's 10 millimeters that I have on that bottom. Yep. Okay, I got those out the way. I'm going to go ahead and pop the distributor cap out the way just because I can. Just to make a little bit more room for this one bolt. So there are 6 bolts for the upper intake. 2 up front, these 2 in the middle, there's 2 in the back. Most of these are actually really easy to get to. It's just a couple of them that are tight, and I don't remember. Half. Okay, so they're halves on this one. So let me get to work on these. I'm probably gonna have to use a wrench. Yeah, to use a wrench on that one, and probably something. I think this one's a little thick too. My salt and pepper shakers are in the way. Yeah, I think I can get to it. So, get the upper intake unbolted and I'll be back. Okay, so I got the intake off. This bolt did give me some trouble. I did end up pulling the distributor to get out of the way of this bolt, or the nut that was on here. But it just it lined up perfect for me. That my previous timing mark for the rotor was just pointed right towards the rear of the car, dead center. So I just marked another mark on the intake. It should get pretty close within a degree or two. So next, all I gotta do So unplug all the connectors for the injectors. And get them all off of there. Okay. Tell you what, let me get these unplugged. All I gotta do once you get the injectors undone is take these, there's 2 bolts on each side holding the fuel rail down, pop the fuel rail up, and you can get to the injectors. So it's gonna take 2 hands, so let me get back to you. Okay, so get that out the way. Still gotta get this number 4 injector plug out. It's kind of gummed up on there. There we go. Man, these are on there. Okay. Boop. There was a little bit of fuel left in there, so looks like all the O-rings are coming out in the rail. This would be a lot easier if I moved more things out of the way, like disconnected the rotor and stuff, or the cap for the distributor, but I'll make it work. Yes, I know you really typically want to put a rag down, but this is going to take me a little bit to do what I'm going to do, so that fuel will all be evaporated by the time I'm done. All right, now I'm going to take a pick and pull all those injector O-rings out of the fuel rail. Now that it's free and clear, it's pretty easy. I'm going to get those out, and then I'll set up to show you how I'm going to clean these, and I'll be back. Okay, so I bought this little alligator clip reel out thing. Got it from AutoZone, I think, for like 15 bucks. But point being, you connect the battery up so you can trigger the injector to fire that you're going to be spraying through. How I set this up, I took let me grab an injector. I want to pull the O-ring off. Light. Alright, there we go. Maybe that'll. So pull the O-ring off the top. What you're going to do is clip on to each one of these terminals. That'll trigger the injector to open. I got a vacuum cap that fit the top of the injector. And then I just drilled a hole in it small enough to squeeze the nozzle of the throttle body cleaner through it. Okay. So basically, once I hook it up, I'll just be squirting throttle body cleaner through it, and we'll see how it works. I'm gonna get set up real quick so y'all can see this. And then hopefully I can I'll get to where I can capture it too. So, got it all hooked up. One part, trying to hook up the spray nozzle without blasting myself. Now, let's see what it does. Okay, so that one's firing at a pretty good cone. If you look, I don't know if you can see this. It's firing pretty good. So I'm going to say that that one's okay. Go ahead and take that one. Grab the next. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with the ones I think are bad. You can hear it click. I don't know if you can hear that when you connect the battery up. So, let's see here. They're all connected. Well, that one's good. Okay. And this just takes a little bit of time. And if one of them like didn't want to spray, you want that cone effect, but if one of them didn't want to spray, then you know you had your problem. May not. See, that one's kind of coming out kind of wonky. It's not coning. That one kind of blew off. So this one's got an issue. So, let me try it now. That one's not wanting to come undone. Or it's not wanting to fire now. So I may have to come back to that one. That one's obviously got some kind of issue. Might need to just let it sit for a little bit. As you can see, it doesn't take a terrible amount of time, but that one's coning pretty good, I think. Yeah. Okay. seems to be fine too. Oop. A couple more, and I'll be done. So that one's got a little resistance. So. Okay. So I'm going to be going back and forth, cleaning these out a few more times, trying to get them to squirt good. And I'll come back in a little bit. So I'm leaving that one with the nozzle on it still. I think the pintle cap was bad, so I cracked the pintle cap off. I have to get new ones. I already had one that had broke, so yeah. I think that injector may be going out, but that wasn't on the cylinder that was misfiring, so I'm not really concerned with it. Anyway, this will probably be it, because putting everything back together is just reverse of doing that. I would recommend also, while you're out, replacing your PCV screen and your PCV valve, which, let's see if I can get my magnet in there to pull that joker out. Salt and pepper shaker's in the way again. Okay, so get that out the way. Right here in the back, and that goes in before your PCV valve. Now I pulled the PCV out with the intake, so it'd be a good time to change that and go from there. I actually got to go get pintle caps, so I'll go get a PCV valve and screen while I'm at it and call it good. So this will probably conclude this video. Until next time, I'll be back. Continuing on, let me show you what I've got going on here. So I've already went ahead and replaced everything on 7 of the injectors. I'm going to show you all this last one. So as you can see, the injectors pulled the O-rings and the spacer and everything off of it. You can get these Sorensen pintle cap injector kits. They're like $6 a pop. AutoZone, whatever. Usually they don't have that many in stock at each store. We were, I had to go to 2 or 3 different stores to get 8. But my experience is, if you got the injectors out, especially something this old, you want to at least replace the O-rings because they do get flat spotted. Let me find one. These don't actually look terrible, but a lot of times what'll happen is they'll deform and get flat spots instead of having round edges, so they're not sealing as good. And I've seen where cars not even this old where I've taken injectors out, you go to put them back in, and then the O-rings start leaking. Then you got to take it all apart again. So what this kit comes with both O-rings, the spacer for the bottom one, and the pintle cap, which the pintle cap was the main thing I was wanting, because most of the pintle caps on these injectors were dried out and cracked, and they were gonna break eventually. So I went ahead and did this. It's real simple. Just put the spacer on first, and then you put the bottom O-ring. You take your pintle cap, and most of these I've had to, that one actually went on pretty good, pretty easy. Some of them I had to push down on a hard surface, but then you take your top O-ring. There you go. So what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to go ahead and start putting this thing back together, get these injectors put back in. I'm going to make sure you lubricate the O-rings as they're going in, because you don't want to rip them or whatever. Plus, with these being brand new, they'll be stiff and hard to get in on their own. So stay tuned. I'll be back. All right. So got all the injectors. I just sprayed WD-40 on a rag and wiped around the O-rings. No big deal. Putting them in, it's pretty simple, straightforward. You just stab them into the fuel rail. This first couple's a pain because I can't even show you all this, but number 1 and number 2, because the fuel rail is tight right here against the fuel lines. It honestly would be better just to if you really wanted to do this the easy way, take the extra step of disconnecting the 2 fuel lines and pulling the fuel rail, being stubborn. So. Driver's side's easy because of the flex tubing, it folds. There. Notice some of these are fighting a little bit more. It's no big deal. There we go. There we go. Okay. So, the getting all these to line up. Okay. So, see, you got the injectors in already. All you gotta do now is hook them all up, which some of these connectors was a fun pain in the butt, but this is just my preference. I'm gonna go ahead and hook them all up before I tighten down the rail. This number 4 is a booger because the regulator's right in the way and it's just a pain. So I'm gonna work on that and I'll be right back. That's a finagling. I got all the injectors in, connected. Fuel rails are bolted down. So next, be time to slap on the intake, which I'm gonna put it on time lapse because this takes some finagling to basically, because it's got the PCV under here. As you can see, I've got the PCV connected to this still. That's for the fuel pressure regulator. And this one went to the vacuum tree. Pretty easy. Just getting this connected before I set it all the way down, and then getting these two, this driver's side front and rear bolts, are the nuts, because there's not a lot of room to work there. So put it on a time lapse and I'll be back. Okay, got all those bolted in. Went faster than I thought. Now I gotta hook up all the vacuum plumbing. So you got your fuel pressure regulator. Find where my EGR vacuum line went. One for the tree. Got it right here. I just gotta plug it in. So I get the. So I've already got the PCV in. That's one. Then you got your source to the vacuum tree. That's 2. EGR line and fuel pressure regulator line. There's 4. I've already got the fuel pressure regulator, the PCV. So let me hook up the other 2 and I'll move on to the next step. Okay. Got the vacuum lines hooked up. Still gotta hook up I got the EGR connector hooked in. The only vacuum line left is the EGR one off the 4-pin. So that's hooked up and out of the way. Now I gotta hook up the throttle cable bracket to the EGR spacer. Got my 2 bolts. Right here, it goes right here, like that. Get that hooked up, and then stab in the bracket, the throttle cable to the throttle body. And we're getting pretty close, so hang on 1 second. Okay, I'm about ready to be done. One thing before I put the cap on, I wanted to show what I was talking about earlier. So just because of the way the motor was timed when I started doing this, it was really simple for me. I just marked a line dead center in line with the center of the rotor on the cap, or on the actual distributor, and on the intake. And so that's how I did that. Again, as I've said in previous videos, if you doubt it, use a timing light. That way you know for sure that's going to be within a degree. So I'm pretty happy with that. So all that's left now is go ahead and get the cap on. If I can keep this one clip from popping off. There we go. All right. Get the battery hooked back up. Need my F-hitch. Go once over. Make sure, see everything connected. All right. I don't think I had any plugs or anything disconnected, so. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna get this fired up. And basically, since it's been disconnected for a while, I'm gonna be doing a base idle reset again. I'm not really gonna mess with anything. I may pull the IAC and see how it's idling, see if it's idling any better. But since it's already where I know it works, I'm just going to let it relearn its idle and then move on with life. So stay tuned. Okay, so let the car warm up to temperature. Now I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery again. Clear the memory, and we'll go from there. Reset the idle. So stay tuned. Okay, so already disconnected the battery. I already went through the base idle reset. It idles smooth. I mean, so who knows? We'll see. It's not fluctuating or doing anything crazy. Anyway, so next I'm going to go back through, dump the codes, do an engine balance test a couple times, see where we end up. So I'll be back. Okay, so what do we get? Well, here's what I got on my thing. First one, 85, was key on, engine off, which, you know, is the it's the thermactor or canister purge valve. I can't remember which, but 94 on 94 and 44 with the key on, engine running, is the canister purge valve, or is the thermactor, the smog pump. It's deleted. The code 85 with the key on, engine off, is the whatchamacallit, the canister purge valve. So no big deal. No codes for anything that I don't already know has been removed. What do we get for engine balance test? Well, now we got flashing 9. So it would appear that cleaning the fuel injectors clean the car up. It does seem to idle smoother. So only time will tell. I have to drive it. I'll know pretty fast if that fixed it, because it's around the cruising speeds between 1500 and 2500 RPM at constant speed. So probably the first time I drive it, I'll know whether or not, within 5 minutes, whether that fixed it. yeah, so check your fuel injectors. You know, these cars, like this one's 32 years old. In fact, I think it just turned 32 because if I remember right, yeah, April of 91 was when this car was built, and it is the end of April 2023. So 32-year-old car, the injectors stock, probably never been out of the fuel rails. I know the fuel rail's been off the car because someone put a trick flow intake on it, but they probably never changed the O-rings. The pintle valves were all cracked up and everything. And so spraying them, cleaning them, and I, like I had said previously, I, had to clean the fuel tank and replace fuel pumps because it was all gunked up from sitting. So it's probably something I should have done from off the get-go, is just clean out the entire fuel system, but I didn't. Anyway, hope this helps. Remember, if you like this stuff, find it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out a lot, maybe one day, make something out of this. But I digress. Until next time, I'll be back.